Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something truly fascinating. We're looking at ancient practices, specifically mantras and the fire ritual known as yagya. But, we're exploring them through a highly structured, almost mechanical lens. If you've ever thought of chanting as just, speaking words into the void, well, prepare to have your mind completely shifted. The source material we're breaking down today frames these practices not just as spiritual poetry, but as a literal, structured, physical, and energetic force. It's essentially a literal science of consciousness. Okay, let's dive into this. Consider this really beautiful analogy from the text. When rocks are caught in the continuous current of a river, the relentless tumbling turns jagged stones into perfectly round pebbles. It's a brilliant way to illustrate that continuous, repetitive motion inevitably creates a transformative physical force. In the exact same way the water physically shapes the stone over time, the structured repetition of a mantra actually carves and shapes the practitioner's mind. It builds real, undeniable momentum. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the mechanics of mantra. Then we'll move into the circles of sound and emotion and see how transforming the self and circumstances actually works. Finally, we'll ground all this abstract mystical energy into the strict physical rules of the practice by exploring the science of Agnihotra, followed by purity, rules, and discipline. Section 1, the mechanics of mantra. Let's look at how repetition in a specific order creates undeniable momentum. Now, our source introduces a really profound concept of physics, but applied to spirituality. The idea is that all continuous motion eventually curves into a circle. Think about it. Planets are locked in their orbital paths, right? Or imagine a person walking in a perfectly straight line for long enough. Because of the Earth's shape, they'll eventually end up exactly where they started. Motion becomes circular. When you continuously pronounce the specific words of a mantra over a long period, that linear stream of sound actually begins to curve. It turns into a magnetic loop of energy. It literally creates a sphere of influence right around you. Section 2. Circles of sound and emotion. Time to introduce the invisible engine that powers this entire scientific process. A mantra actually generates two distinct but completely overlapping circles. It's like a dual engine of chanting. First, you have the bhav vruta, which is the circle of emotion. This is your internal, fierce flow of intention and devotion. Then you have the dhvani vruta, the circle of sound. And this is the outer, explosive, physical boundary created by your vocal pronunciation. And this brilliantly illustrates how, when you practice consistently, the inner emotion and the outer sound blend perfectly together. They completely envelop and mold your consciousness, bending your internal and external reality to the exact desired frequency. To give you a real sense of just how powerful this is, the text equates this overlapping energy to the Sudarshan chakra. Now, in ancient mythology, this is the ultimate, unstoppable spinning weapon wielded by the deity Vishnu. But here, it's used as a powerful metaphor for the immense, fierce capability of soul power that you actually generate. By spinning these overlapping circles of sound and emotion, you're essentially forging a weapon of consciousness, one that's highly capable of cutting through literally any energetic block. Section 3. Transforming self and circumstances. So, what does all this generated energy actually accomplish in the real world? So the crucial point is that this generated energy isn't just for, relaxation. The text explicitly lists out the real-world applications of this practice. It acts to fundamentally cure physical and mental illnesses. It strips away personal flaws and bad qualities while actively amplifying virtues and good deeds. It's designed to pierce through the chakra view, which the source describes as that inescapable cycle of endless desires and action that just drags us around in life. The ultimate goal, of course, is achieving absolute self-realization and liberation by fundamentally altering your internal state and, consequently, reversing bad environments. I just absolutely love the imagery the text uses here. It compares the power of a deeply ingrained mantra to a bulldozer or a massive tractor tire. It doesn't tiptoe around obstacles, it actively crushes them, cutting right through worldly distractions and resistance to firmly embed profound truths right into your heart. It's a very grounded, heavy, and completely unstoppable force when it's executed correctly. Section 4. The Science of Agnihotra. We're pivoting now to the physical housing required for this energy engine, because a true yagya is far more than just burning fragrant materials to scent the air. To harness this incredible energy safely and effectively, it absolutely requires a physical housing. Look at the strict physical discipline required just to gather the wood, which is known as samhita. You can't just grab some random firewood and toss it into a pit. No, first you have to select a specific, pure branch. Step 2, it has to be cut with a purified axe at an astrologically auspicious time. Step 3, it must be washed with pure water and dried in the shade. And finally, before it ever touches the fire, the practitioner must perform pran pratishta, literally infusing the wood with life force. Only then is it considered valid fuel. Throwing random wood into a fire just makes a campfire, guys, not an Agni Hotra. Section 5. Purity, Rules, and Discipline. Here we'll focus on the absolute necessity of strict environmental and personal maintenance for this ritual to actually work. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how incredibly specific the rules get regarding modern conveniences. The text explicitly warns against starting the sacred fire with common phosphorus matchsticks. Why? Well, because they're made from foul-smelling chemicals and sometimes even animal bone essence. Using something chemically impure immediately defeats the entire purpose of establishing the pure fire deity in the ritual space. Every single detail matters. This strictness extends to absolutely everything. The utensils used must be carved from specific woods and into specific shapes. The practitioner must bathe and wear pure, specific clothing. The offerings, the havya, must be meticulously consecrated. The text states very clearly, arbitrariness is completely forbidden. This is a scientific process. Just like in a chemistry lab, if you ignore the steps, mix the wrong compounds, or contaminate the environment, you don't just waste your effort, you can actually cause a volatile and bad reaction. If the discipline is lacking, the whole scientific process of mantra chanting becomes completely ineffective. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this explainer. The mechanics of sound, the physics of circular motion, the fierce intention, and the absolute uncompromising discipline, it all weaves together into a single profound technology of the self. So the question the text really leaves us with is this. When you speak, when you set your intentions, are you just repeating words into the void? Or are you ready to build an unstoppable circle of power? Remember, without purity and discipline, the scientific process of mantras simply fails. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this completely changed how you view these ancient mechanics.